Organized Grind with Oracle Uno. Recorded live at Grapefruit Studios in South Minneapolis.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, world? This is Oracle Uno checking in. This is episode 6 of the Organized Grind podcast. And today we got a very special guest with us. A man of many talents. A lot of history within Twin Cities hip-hop and beyond, just in hip-hop in general. We got my guy DisputeOne of OnePlusOne, other crews. Why don't you go ahead and say what's up, Dispute?
What's going on, everybody? Like my man said, DisputeOne used to be Extreme, for those that are kind of wondering where the Extreme headshots underground situation comes from. That's just from me being on the scene since I was about 16, 17, like actively 17 in ciphers, doing a lot of things. I was a part of the hip-hop scene back then when it was headshots. And I think there was even a crew called the Black Pack before that. So shout out to Clarence, aka Concentrate.
Okay.
He knows about the Black Pack. We were repping before Rhymesayers.
Sup, Concentrate?
Yeah. So,
Cool. Well,
good history.
I'm super happy that you touched on that because there's a lot that I really want to touch on in the episode because you have done so much for the scene and in the scene. So since you brought up the whole Extreme thing, why don't we go ahead and take it to the very beginning?
Okay.
How did you get into hip hop and where did the name Extreme come from?
All right, simple. Got into hip-hop because I had a promising basketball career that got shorted by an injury to my left ankle.
Okay.
I tore ligaments. But prior to that, even New MC, Cancer's main front man,
Sure.
who wrote a book about the Twin Cities, mentioned some of my leaping ability. I had about a 42-inch vertical at one point.
Damn.
And I'm 5'9". So,
5'9", okay.
Yeah, I could dunk with two hands. It was not a problem. Two-leg jumper, so it was more of the bounce it on the ground and look like Spud Webb, catch it in the air, dunk it type of shit. So,
Sure. So how did you get the injury?
It was, man, all right, crazy. Kind of sounds like the beginning of a movie, like a Netflix special.
Okay.
Because I was hooping at a park maybe 4 or 5 blocks away from my original house on the south side.
Sure.
Shout out to the south side of Minneapolis. We're talking 31st and 19th.
Okay.
So for those who know, right over in that area, South High School.
That's
you
what's
know.
up.
So
Yeah.
went to the park. The park was called Corcoran Park,
Okay.
of all things. I'm shooting. It's like 6, 7 in the morning. No, it's about 7 in the morning, as a matter of fact. Playing basketball, I'm shooting, playing with some guys on some pickup, and I'm watching the follow through to one of my shots, and the guy just leaning forward, tried to block my shot, landed on my ankle. Yeah, so basically rolled it, and I was on the ground. And what's fucked up, now what's really, really disappointing about that shit is that those cats packed up all their shit, got in the car, and left. My little brother was with me. It was a day off of school. So my little brother was at the park and I yelled his name and he came flexing over like, oh, damn. I was like, I can't walk. You got to run home and you got to go get dad to come get me.
Damn.
So I sat on the court, nobody there, while my ankle was swollen. I couldn't take the shoe off. And I was just like, what the fuck happened?
So were you like on the court and then they just bounced out? They were just like, peace out?
They were like, yo, are you okay? And I was like, oh, my ankle. And they were basically like, well, he's not dead. So let's just get our shit and let's get the fuck out of here. So it was like getting hit with a car. And then people going, is he breathing? I saw him twitch. And then they rolled off.
Damn, man.
Yeah. So,
Damn.
yeah.
So all right. So you're laid up with the injury. Did you attempt to try to ball again, or was it just game over?
Yeah, it was game over. I had an air cast on. The dude was like, you're not going to have the same leaping capability. Like you can rehab to get like muscle mass back, because I lost muscle mass in that calf, and it was just kind of to the point that it was like, well, what am I really going to do with this shit? I can't, no one's really looking for me anymore. I lost a lot of that, couldn't play in the season after that at high school.
Sure.
So I kind of just was like, fuck it. But I wandered around the court still and I actually saw somebody wearing like an Adidas suit with a Kangol. He had a boombox. I mean, literally like a broke version of like LL Cool J. You know what I'm saying? But he was banging an LL Cool J track. And I mean, and I remember that I'm notorious, I'll crush you like a jelly bean. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. And so my mind flipped to what that dude was doing. And I was like, okay, this dude's by himself, walking, looking ridiculous, but that shit, he's confident. And then the fact that he came up, everybody was like, come on, come over. Made him put the music down, and he stayed, and he was the music for everyone to play. And I was like, wow, there's something bigger than what the fuck I'm doing. They asked for him. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I don't want to be them. I want to be him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then what was your first attempt at rapping? Like, how did that even materialize? It was a talent show at an alternative school that I had gone to, because I was starting to give up on school a lot. One of the reasons why I made that post the other night about non-educators, just I got triggered by that Nipsey situation, and was just disappointed about how many other people failed those people to come to their conclusions in life, right? Another topic, another story. Yeah. But it was one of those vibes where I was like, man, you know, I really got to get this going. I got talent. I'm rapping in the shower and shit at the crib. My mom's knocking on the door like, are you talking to yourself? You know, shit like that. Like, you're real embarrassing, but you're just like, no, I got this. But it's like, there was a talent show, and I had a good homie of mine named Ano Dennis. Shout out to Ano, no matter wherever he is. He's another Southside hip-hop originator here. His brother used to manage or be a part of the management of the Jets. Oh, wow. So you're getting some exclusive shit here. Man, so the Jets, I've been to their spot when I was younger, and I realized like, oh, you can get paid doing this type of shit. So what I ended up doing, and here comes the incriminating portion of the podcast. Statute of limitations. So my pops has a really cool vinyl collection, right? And I started to realize where samples and shit were coming from. So I was looking through his records, and he's got a fly 45 collection, and he was quick to be on my ass like, don't fuck with my records. And I was like, sure, whatever. I ended up lifting a BJ4 album, Bob James 4 album, the BJ4 album, and I snuck that over to Ano's and spent the night. I knew a talent show was coming up at my alternative school. I stayed up all night, made my own loop, recorded it for X amount of length. I forgot how I did it, but it was on a piece of machinery. I think it was on an SP or something of that nature. He looped it in, and I worked it at that point, and I made it long enough to write my own verse. Nice. I stayed up all night writing my own verse. That's what's up. And I went to the talent show like, I got this. I made the beat. No one knows where this came from. I've only heard it once by like the native tongues. What? You know what I mean? Type of shit. And I lost.
So what year would you say this was?
I was probably like 17, literally. Yeah, like I had been trying other shit, 15, 16, freestyling, but like really trying to get it cracking was like 17.
Sure.
You know.
So we're talking what, like
11th grade in a nutshell.
80-something? 90-something?
Like, well, that's like 91.
91?
Yeah, like 91. Yep,
okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Word. So, so you started rapping, all that. Now, from my understanding and just word on the street is that you are responsible for one of the first kind of independent hip hop releases. Yeah. So what was the step in between the talent show and hooking up with Roger Lear?
The fact that I lost a talent show to a group of guys covering a Jodeci song.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like a croon session. I mean, like it was ran Apollo style.
Did they have the dancers?
It had no
dancers.
It was just ridiculous. But the sloped hair.
Sure.
They had the curls slow. I mean, literally the baggy shit, like almost like the typewriter type.
Yep.
It was embarrassing, fam, because I got up there and that loop was killing, and people were like, you could tell they were feeling it, like, he didn't do that. It was more of like, you didn't do it versus how good it is. Yeah. And then for them, it was like all of a sudden they started singing Jodeci. And I remember watching the whole atmosphere change. It was like super slow-mo. And I was like, no, like I'm about to lose. And so that fueled me. I was like, man, fuck that. You know what I mean? So I just stayed in the mix. But at that time, I was leaving South because I was pretty much done with school, you know what I'm saying? I left and kind of took care of my own shit outside of that. Dropped out, came back, did that. Ended up getting a GED and said, I gotta live. And it was more about the art and chasing my goals than sticking around and trying to listen to teachers that weren't trying to teach you.
Sure.
At that point.
Sure. So was it that did you start doing shows, or was it that someone saw you and started to put you on, or how did it start becoming a little more serious than just a hobby?
The cats, I saw it at school.
Sure.
We're talking the Metro unit and the Micronauts. That's where the Metro unit turned into after that. There was a lot of those cats before that. Saw a lot of dope cats. I saw Truth at one point doing things way beforehand. I saw them at the Kaufman Union, as a matter of fact. That was kind of one of the major shows. I snuck in and I saw them on stage doing some real like fuck the police type of like shit, some impactful music, and cops were there, and it was kind of offensive, but it wasn't like about them.
Sure.
But it was enough to be like, the crowd is feeling it, it's rebellious, it's power. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't playing basketball anymore. I was like, I'm trying to get serious about this rap shit, and these are the same dudes I go to school with, and this is how you do it. They had dancers at the time too. They had a DJ, they had all that shit. Kool Akeem, all those cats. I mean, that was the squad. South High, Washburn, North, and maybe Edison, Big Jess.
Okay, sure.
So that's kind of how, the scene divvied out, and a lot of people came from those areas. So for me, it was Truth, and it was I Self Divine, because I went to high school with those two. So, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, whoa, in that sense.
Right. So how did you, I guess, wind up working on recorded material? What was the process of the beginning of that?
Got into a like a battle contest type deal at a high school overnight.
Sure.
And Slug was actually DJing.
Okay.
And like I did some things, I got some oohs and ahs, and then he and I politicked for like the next summer. And then I kind of like inadvertently was a Rhymesayer, just because I was around more, and he brought me to the house and I got to meet Ann. And then it was cool to watch because I wasn't there asking for beats. I was just kind of in the cut, but everybody had their own time slots. I mean, shit ton of people would come in the house, man. I mean, you'd be like, oh, there's Full Circle, there's Urban Atmosphere at the time, there's Beyond. Oh, and then I'm sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know what I mean? But I have skills, but I'm not asking. So Ant would have certain beats, and he would play certain beats. These were basically Atmosphere's beats. These were Musab's beats. They had certain vibes. And then if you had rhymes ready, you could get on a track. If you had rhymes ready, you had to be prepared. Ergo, what's that? Substance abuse.
Sure. I wanted to talk more about the first record, but since you brought us there, that was something that I wanted to touch on as well, was substance abuse. What's the story behind that song, man?
Simple as that. I mean, those two had verses already, and they needed a third.
Okay.
And Ant, it was just Ant being a coach.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a good time to put this kid in the game. And he was just like, hey, you got 16E? And I was extreme at the time. I was like, oh, yeah, I got 16. Looking at him, like, fuck, I got 16 for days.
Right.
And so at that time, I heard what they had going on, and then I altered what I had to kind of vibe with it, because it just became like a posse unit at the time. I was like, I don't need to come all choppy. I need to be lyrically on point, but I still need to have the same, like, drunken swagger. You know what I'm saying? When you think like Drunken Fist, like, styles, you're like, oh, it looks out of control, but it's perfect. That was Atmosphere at the time. You had Ant doing the beats, you had Slug with the whimsical shit, and you had Derek, Spawn doing the b-boy shit. So for me, it was like I fit right in the middle, because I was just young and like da 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 da, and it just fit. You know what I mean? It was like vet, new and upcomer that can hold the shit. And that's how I took it.
Now, was this before or after the Roger Lear project?
That was I want to say before.
This was before Roger Lear?
Yeah, before.
Okay.
Yeah, because I believe as a matter of fact, I was on, let's see, no. Rewind. Roger was 1995, bro.
Right. That's what I was thinking, was Roger came first, and then Rhymesayers stuff,
Yeah,
right?
with Roger, just to kind of backtrack for you on that.
Yeah.
Roger and I had a 3-year contract.
Okay.
And that's interesting when you have a 3-year contract around the range of like when you're 18 to almost 21. So the real good music came in like 1997.
Sure.
That's when I hit Atmosphere's, peak of what they're doing, and it was Headshots.
Sure.
But before that, I did 2 projects with Roger.
Okay.
We had my album, which was the IAMIS. It's an acronym for Immature Artist Imitate Mature Artist Steal.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which basically means, examples for life. You see things, mature artists, they don't steal, they just take it and they work with it and they do what they got to do to create it. no samples on that album. We did everything. We played all the music. You know what I mean? It was pretty ill for a solo rapper. No guest appearances, none of that shit.
Sure. And you were telling me too that you guys would like record like water drops from the sink and stuff like that too,
in buckets with various levels of water, so you could use sound dynamic with the mic in there. We used to make sounds with our mouth and then reverse them, add verb to them, because we had like a 24 track mixing board, like original shit. Apex 2-inch reel, like record, rewind,
some analog
back,
shit.
I mean, ridiculous shit. Like, it made me very thorough with taking takes. Now you get that blessing now because you're like, oh, D's good, D's that. Dude, I was a gladiator.
Sure. Yeah, man.
I mean, Spartacus in the house. You feel me?
Tape was not cheap back then. All that shit, man. You had to really be about it and know your shit when you went in there, because you couldn't waste time or fuck around. Yeah,
I spent weekends. I mean, where people I notice people now in my 40s where I watch people kind of slough on studio time and shit because everything is accessible, and he's got a studio. She's got a studio.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Back then, no, it wasn't that serious. I would come on a Friday, spend the night there, and leave back before Monday, before school type of shit. You know, and because I was trying to do alternative school because I left that. So it was like, all right, I got time now to do what I want to do, still have a job, still try to keep my grades, try to get a degree. You know what I mean? I was still trying, but it was like, this rap shit's really, really where it's at right now. Like, I can do that, but I need to put my energy there. So yeah, I would sleep in the studio, crashed out because he had a 1-bedroom apartment. He had his area. I was just in the studio area, knocked out. Man. Wake up in the morning. I knew how to turn all the shit on. I'd record myself, or I'd start on sounds and blanket up the closet with the mic underneath. Word. I mean, you know, shit happens.
Now, was this around the same time of the Jimmy Jam situation?
Yeah, all that, man.
Do you feel like talking about that at all?
It's kind of, you know what it is? It's like, all right, so you got RL, all right, and those guys, and Butter Love. So for those that know Butter Love, at one point, myself and Mike Mack and a few others were in a collective hip-hop group, and we were trying to make things happen. And those cats had the opportunity for us to be signed and to kind of push out some Minnesota hip hop. But lo and behold, RL, who I went to high school with at South, who sang all the time. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like a Netflix special. He sang in the hallways all the time. All the ladies knew who he was. The Rondo days, the Juneteenths, they all sang. They were good. So there wasn't any room for hip hop to go on a major label at that time. When this is the state of R&B. You know what I mean? It was and I ain't hating, you know that at all, because it's like, that's my brother. I mean, he's right off of Clinton. You know what I mean? It's the South Side. You know, Bus One knows what I'm referring to. Shout out to Bus One. He, you know what I'm saying? He knows. You know, Black Madonna, aka. You know what I'm saying? You know, sure. So you know, he and I go way back as well. Nice. But I mean, it's those guys lived on the same block. You know what I mean? So it's like the scene is really, I say it's small, but it's an even smaller Twin Cities, because anyone has known someone, or you're one or two individuals away from being like, oh yeah, I know that dude. Because I got people that my mom and dad know that are like, yeah, Prince used to come over to your grandma's and eat. Your aunt, she went to Central with them, and I'm like, oh shit, Minneapolis has always been that way. Sure. You know what I mean? Talent is always around talent, and as long as you're capable of wanting to work with people, that's why I was like, Roger, ain't nobody fucking with you. I don't know you either. I trust you. Let's go. Yeah. Built a lifelong friendship off of that. You know what I mean? Just off of work ethic, saying, hey, let's make music. Let's creatively put our shit together. The second project is where I learned who Carnage was at the time. Sure. T Swift. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and, you know, and X-Con, you know what I'm saying, on the cuts. Yeah. Those cats, I worked with them in 1996 and then built a relationship forever. Now I'm hecatone with them whenever we do things, and that's my thing. I love being affiliated with the best quality music and culture that can provide here. Sure. I'm not about clicks. I'm about, if we're good, I want to be a part of it so I can help it be better too. Sure. You know what I mean? So when you say, yeah, I fuck with D1, yeah, he fucks with Hecatome. Exactly. He fucks with Grassroots. Exactly. I fuck with anything that has culture and realness behind it. Sure. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. And that's how all that kind of tied together, you know? So I saw a lot of these same people that we work with now doing their thing in their apex, and they helped me be who I am now, you know?
Sure. So So you started off with the 2 records that you put out, and then the Rhymesayers stuff started to pick up, which back then was the Headshots crew. It was just tapes and all that. Now, from what I hear from people around the scene is that, you know, back in those 90s days, in like the mid 90s, like you were lucky if you could book a coffee shop.
Oh yeah, it was hip hop was frowned on, man. It was like the new rock and roll type of shit. Like everyone was cool with like grunge music, rock shit, because it had its little pockets here. And anybody with a band, alternative shit, that was the Twin Cities. We as hip hop artists, I mean, and it's a fun fact, as Rhymesayer artists, we were booked at raves. There were tons of warehouse events that I remember rapping in this little room, mad smoky, but like 2/3 of the building would be in there with you. You could peek out to see what the rest of the warehouse was doing. It was doing shit, music, lights, people doing whatever. But our hip hop room, we crushed it. And it was like artists went one after another, and it was Sadiq that had ADATs, and he was playing your music, and then he would randomly play your shit. It wasn't something that you would expect. You would just be in the house. If he knew he had 10 MCs, he had all your fucking music. When your song came on, rap.
Sure.
Discipline 101. You don't see that shit these days. And then the young cats don't listen to you long enough to hear these things. Oh, but I don't hate on them. I'm like, they got bigger fish to fry, I guess. Yeah. You know, so. Yeah,
so we'll go to a commercial break soon, but I guess because from Rhymesayers, you then went on to the Interlock crew, right?
Yes.
How or what led to that transition from one crew to the other crew? Especially, that seems very controversial because Rhymesayers and the Interlock crew were almost like neck to neck with each other.
Yeah. For me, it was, I think, either we'll say in my middle-aged life, maybe it was a misunderstanding between Sadiq and I.
Sure.
You know, because I felt that he was feeling like I wasn't fully focused on the Rhymesayer brand.
Okay.
And I was. I'm still me. I'm the same cat now that I was then. I wanted to rap with everybody. It was just, I was happy that I could do it and I was comfortable, but in every song, I crushed it saying I was RIC this. I was on. That was my shit.
That's right.
And so for me, I think the way our conversation may have went down, it was a conversation at KMOJ. And it was because I used to do some work with, like I said, Mike Mack at the time. You know, he was there. So I've been fortunate to be in and out of KFAI as well as KMOJ. You know what I mean? Working and setting myself together. So I think we had a little conversation outside, and it was just like an unsaid thing. I just kind of went east, they went west. You know what I mean? It wasn't a blowout. You know, there wasn't nothing. That's why people are always like, why did you leave? And I'm like, that's not an argument. It just wasn't in the universe for Extreme to stick around. And I wanted to change and do a lot of shit. I wanted to change my name. I had drive to do a lot of things. You know what I mean? It was just like, and I wasn't really ready to sit in a chair and go, I'll wait my turn. Like it was, the scene was too open. You know what I mean? If you think about it, when you think about the way it is now, and then you try to relate to it in like a evolutionary phase, it was prehistoric then.
Right.
There was tons of vegetation, tons of land, no boundaries.
Yeah.
I can't be told to sit on my ass and not be told. I'm not going to say he said that, but in so many words, I felt like I couldn't progress.
Sure.
And maybe it was because I was young. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I'm not being guided, and he was young, and he was on the groundbreaking stages of creating a legacy.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right,
people don't always see eye to eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can respect that. That's why I said Nipsey Hussle's situation triggered me, because it's like, I can view all this shit. How they say the older you get, you can think back to moments and time. And I've thought of this time, and I've been like, wow, what if that conversation went different?
Yeah.
What if it went different?
Right.
You know, because I was around when Idea and Abilities was there. I was around when Brother Ali came and pushed his tape and became something.
Yeah.
And I was distancing myself at that time,
Sure.
which is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So, one last question before the commercial break here, just because there's so much to touch on. You were a part of the first Soundset.
Very much so. 3:40 a.m. set time for me, sir.
Do you feel free to go ahead and dig into that, man? What was the very first Soundset like?
I'll keep it real simple. Mini Ha Ha on Lake Street, $5 entrance, hip hop rave, DJs, crews all night long. Set schedules ready to rock. I've got original photos that I actually gave to Kevin Beecham.
That's
Shout
right.
out to Kevin at the time.
Yeah.
And when the Rhymesayers anniversary, I did the 20 year, I think it was.
25th or 20th is one of them.
It was something in that
Something
range.
like that, but at the
wanna-
Target Center, right?
Yes,
At that show?
where you and I,
Yeah,
where I went,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
which we were blessed to get tickets because
Right.
I didn't purchase any. I felt some kind of way about that, and then the universe was like, oh,
Yeah.
So you were the first person I thought about at that time. Like, I was
Thank
like,
you. I
this
appreciate
brother
that.
will deserve this more than me. For me, I need to see specific things. So for me, it was kind of like. It's like the 5 Heartbeats reunion.
Sure.
Where you're like David Ruffin better not fuck up the situation up there, like, you know, like we're all feeling some kind of way in the seat. But then when I saw fucking who was that? Spawn.
Yeah.
And when I saw Spawn, I cried.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And that told me I was invested in this shit. But back the same type of vibe. Back to the Soundset,
Yep.
same type of vibe. So that was the anniversary, that 2 decades or so later. The original was just as intense. I've got pictures of people. We look like babies. We look like infants and shit.
Yeah,
I've
man.
got the picture of the first Soundset sprayed wall that had everyone who was Rhymesayers at the time. Everyone that was rocking. I'm fortunate to see my name on that.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
fortunate to see it with a bunch of cats that are still, I'm still proud to say I rocked with them. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So it was-
Dope, man.
it's dope.
All right, well, let's go ahead, hit this first commercial break here, and then we'll be right back. We'll talk about your name change and your further career shit. So we will be right back. We got DisputeOne on the Organized Grind podcast.
Yo, representing the Midwest, this is Truth Maze. Yes, y'all. Check out the new EP. It's entitled The Holy Bible. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Music and elsewhere. Red Pill Music, baby.
They don't wanna see you in your raw style, see you in your stance when you're doing your own fucking dance. No, they don't wanna see you in the space, big grip on your face while the music straight's banging in the place. Now they don't wanna see you in your raw style, see you in your stance when you're doing your own fucking dance. No, they don't wanna see you in the space, big grip on your face while the music straight banging in the place.
They don't wanna see the top cream rising on what I mean. Run a scheme when the power ain't really about the green. The stereotype precise as laser beams. Got the mind stuck on only what's seen when truly it's the free mind. Keeping shit cracking, they be acting, but without us ain't a damn thing happening. The parallel, not knowing it's all about
Yeah. We are back on the Organized Grind podcast. I am here with my compadre, DisputeOne.
Yo.
So we had just recently been talking about the first Soundset. We talked about the history of your earlier career. So DisputeOne, the name,
Okay.
did that change when you started to work with the Interlock crew, or was that after, or
That's way after.
what? All right.
Yeah,
So
it's way
let's start with the transition into the Interlock crew then.
Gotcha.
How did that come about?
Okay. So once I decided to kind of do my thing from Rhymesayers, I had to kind of like recognize who was doing things in the city at that time and who I would want to kind of be around and influence or be influenced by. Real
Sure.
shit, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I saw a lot of those cats on individual bases kind of come together, and I was like, yo, I want to fuck with y'all. And I already had a history from Rhymesayers that they were like, okay, yeah, we fuck with you, you know. And Zach was all about it because Zach and I were cool from the South Side.
Sure.
The combination of things that Zach and I share, the number one thing is basketball.
Okay.
We used to hoop all the time. We used to do church leagues on Sundays and shit.
Where did you meet?
Man, you'll have to hit up that brother.
Okay. Oh, sure.
Because that
Sure.
brother is like the oracle, no pun intended,
Yeah, no, it's all
of
good.
like Minneapolis history. He remembers that shit like it's a part of his DNA. So
Sure.
he'll tell you, you know, I'll just co-sign 'cause
Okay.
I know it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was early in our careers. I mean, I've got older photos from the Interlock days at Bon Appetit,
Okay.
which was the origin of Dinkytown hip hop, like the start of all
Right.
of what you saw from there to the Dinkytown or to the Pasta Bar Bar, you know what I mean? That whole trifecta, that's the hip hop community right there.
That was the show that he used to host, was Headspin, right?
Exactly.
Headspin
And
at
that's
Bonnet?
where his book basically is entitled from. So he refers to those moments and a bunch of other things. I mean, it was kind of like the Apollo for hip hop back then, you know, because
Sure.
it was like come and kick it. You know, come and kick it. So
Yeah.
it turned into some really good shit. I mean, it birthed a lot of us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It gave us what's that? It gave us identity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you remember any sort of highlights from the Bone App days? Like,
Brother Ali and Carnage battled.
oh shit.
Yeah, that was raw. Yeah, I believe Big Zach talks about it in his first version of the book. He has a revision out now, but I think he covered it in the first ones. But I've got one picture that has Carnage and Brother Ali in the typical we're battling, and I think at the time Brother Ali had the mic in his hand.
Sure.
And it was pretty fresh. I don't remember verbatim, but they both had bars, and at the end of it was a big pat and hug and mutual respect. But that was the place, man. I mean, I'm telling you, if when I say Apollo for the younger generation, when you think of Apollo, YouTube the shit, you know what I mean? Don't act brand new. See how they used to do it in New York, how when you had talent, you came out, you either got booed off stage, you got pulled off stage, you got laughed off stage. There was really no way to it. Bone Op was that place.
Sure.
And it was the who's and the where's where for hip hop at that time. I mean, we lived a rock star life back in the day. Like, we didn't have any stigmas. People weren't rapping about other shit. They were really culture driven, and it was like my territory. Like I said, dinosaurs. We was eating each other up, man, trying to hold ground, you know what I mean? So
Do you remember who won that battle?
I don't.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad I don't, because I don't want to be anyone's like, D said this and I was there. Nah,
Right.
man, you know, you ain't gonna hold this old man to that shit.
Okay,
so.
hey, you know, I gotta try to ask the questions, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're rocking with the Interlock crew.
Yeah.
How long was that you were with
I
them
want to
for?
say for a few years, because what happened was we dropped our first project and I did a joint with Booker B.
Okay.
And it was super ill.
Shout out Booker.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just super ill going to his house at the time. Like, he and his father lived together, and his father was a musician and he's a musician, and the top half was like pseudo jazz, just flex, just his dad I idolized on the low, like, oh damn, this white dude.
Yeah.
He's so cool. And then you go down into Booker's house and you're like, damn, in the basement he's just abstract, beautiful. So it was just a wonderful thing. So for me it was like doing that brought me all out of my element. So you know what I mean? It was a whole nother extreme at that time. But then for me, I started to learn about ASCAP and BMI, and I started to educate myself. And I remember like it happened yesterday. I was at a fucking Interlock meeting, and I was sitting next to Illusions, because that was my ride or die homie. Shout out to Ill.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I got a little mini story about him and how I was on him about Rhymesayers, like, and I was disappointed that Rhymesayers wasn't giving him the same love and respect, because he was the hype man for Musab or Beyond at the time.
Yeah.
And when they didn't give him any love, I think I probably pissed Sadiq off, because I used to put him on the show with me all the time. And I just trusted him. I loved him as my backup, and I didn't really care what anyone else thought. So I'm sure it rode waves like Extreme's not really seeing what I'm saying. I don't want the cat on stage without telling him I don't want him. But Extreme just keeps bringing him. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's how I felt. You know what I'm saying?
It's definitely some like young buck shit. I mean,
young, man.
I definitely, when I was young, you know, people had advice, but me being young and just hungry, I just didn't want to hear it. I just wanted to do what I was doing, and you know, if you didn't get it, then I just thought you just didn't get it. And
exactly. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, okay, that's where it's at. And so all of that came from those eras of trying to get in where you fit in, but being talented enough to work with the best, but still having your own agenda. I had my own agenda, man. And it was like I was working with a construct, but against a construct at the same time. And you just learn that over time. You just like you said, you get wiser, and then business decisions become more fruitful because you start taking the necessities serious. You're like, okay, if I invest my time and my energy with this person here and this person there, because I've been asked this question, like, why have you been with so many crews?
Sure.
And I think I shared that with you. I won't bust out the individual who asked.
I'm sure that we've had this talk before.
I'll briefly share it with you, and then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember going to an individual's house to go check out some music, and they all of a sudden try to have a Inspector Clouseau moment with me and be like, I heard you were with a lot of groups, and I was kind of like off taken because I was there to do business. I actually had some money in my pocket. He didn't even know that I was gonna break some bread with him that night. I really was trying to be the homie, and I was like, whoa. So I had to get real cynical with him and say, personally, perfection doesn't sit and wait for anyone. I was like, so if it's not on the level that I feel it is, I'm gone. I said, has anybody ever been bad for leaving? When is it bad to leave something? You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's worse to stay if you're not getting what you want. I said, I left because that's the ultimate control I have. I said, so are you satisfied? And he was, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I said, well, I don't know what you meant, man, but I'm about 2 minutes away from concluding business. So, you know what I mean? I've always been kind of, you know what I'm saying, just Rockefeller gangster about my shit. I'm the 5'9" MC. I was 5'9", I feel, before Royce.
Sure.
I was screaming E to 5'9", Extreme to 5'9". I didn't know what else to call myself.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if I have your history correct, I'm trying to recall here. After the Interlock crew, and sorry for people who are checking this out, as I've mentioned before, I do have a stutter and hard vowels are hard for me, so I'm sorry to the crews. I'm not trying to fuck your name up or stutter on your name. After the Interlock crew,
yes,
I'm pretty sure you then worked with Dialogue.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, can you explain the transition there? And is this where the name change happens?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I stayed with Extreme, and then I ended up kind of converting into DisputeOne with Dialogue.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because what happened was X Games and Extreme Mountain Dew and all of these commercial things came out that was like XXX, and I'm like, I had the illest, because if no one's ever read or heard any other interview from me, you can get it today. Extreme is an acronym. It stood for Exquisite Examples, truly representing E for musical eternity. And that meant examples for life. And I'm from the era that loved hip-hop and still loves hip-hop. I was a part of the De La Soul and Native Tongue connection, and where names meant something. Like having a moniker was important. You know what I mean? And like I've always said that since I was 17 till now. I'm like, you should bow down to hip-hop. I'm not saying you should kiss its ass, because no one kisses anything, but you should bow down to an art form that allows you to walk this earth as a totally different individual. You are free to be who you want to be in this music and this craft, and you can call yourself the man that's wanted right now for murdering a changed man, aka Nipsey, is Shitty. I mean, you can name yourself Shitty. You see what I'm saying? And that's my point. It's like, you can name yourself anything. Why not name yourself something that is iconic? Pharaoh Monch.
Right.
Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
Woo. You understand what I'm saying? Something that rolls off your tongue. And that's what Extreme did for me. And I was proud of that name, bro. I got it tattooed on my arm. It's the only tattoo I have on my arm. And it's one that I've sat back, and I'm so meticulous. It's just like my fucking album. Why it takes so long?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't even touched the tattoo because I'm like, I know what I want, but I need to get off my ass and do it. But
all right. So back to the transition from Interlock crew to Dialogue. All right, hang on. I'm gonna try not to stutter.
All right.
Dialogue Elevators crew. What was the transition there, and how did that happen?
Free agency.
Okay.
Simple as that. Being like, okay, bet this is where we're at with Interlock. During that meeting, to conclude that story, I started telling them about ASCAP and BMI. Now, mind you, at that time, I was also getting ready to start working with my younger brother, who went by Livewire at the time, and another brother couple that was working together too, named Mike Check and Logic Reasons. We formed a group called Synoptic Pressure. We had hip-hop popping in Europe, and we had a whole beat team that was like, yo, we're gonna send you an album worth of material. All you gotta do, it was basically like, here's putty, make me a sculpture. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So for me, with them, I was learning about the business side. I had a record deal, I had a leasing deal with them. Like, we'll pop it out over there. We'll give you promo shit to talk about here. I wasn't worried about making money with them. I wanted the acknowledgement of saying that I have a deal. I have a leasing deal, and here's an opportunity for me to actually get my name past the Twin Cities and get past that Rhymesayer moment, get past anything else. And Dialogue was free agency. As I was doing my own thing, met Ernie, met Last Word, met Jeff, which is GWMC at the time. And the funny thing about it, how everyone knows who Last Word is right now as Brother Ali's touring DJ. He does his thing. Last Word's been the most professional DJ I've ever met, probably in my life, outside of like King IXL, who used to be in the South Side, who backed me up for one show, and it felt like I had DJ Premier behind me. That was when I was like really, really young, and I couldn't really appreciate how fresh somebody on two turntables could be. So for me, it was like ultimately fly on that too.
Sure. So did you seek them out, or did they seek you out?
It was kind of like, I've seen you rock, you've seen me rock, and we kind of like saw each other from the Bon Appetit to the Dinky Town. And when the Dinky Town, because when the Bon Appetit went, you know, RIP, hip hop transitioned over to that particular area, to the Dinky Town. So then it was like, okay, that became the next stomping ground of all kinds of shit. So it was like, okay, people are really popping and they're really making shit happen that way. So I was like, all right, cool. Then I seen them doing their individual things, and then they were already in crew, Dialogue Elevators crew. I liked what I saw because I was like, look at Last Word. I'm like, that guy's he's a conductor. I see that. And then I was like, Jeff needs a little work, but Jeff is still Jeff. Jeff has his own idiocracies, but he also had his own strengths, because I used to back him up as a solo artist for him. I kind of turned into a coach. Yeah, dude.
That's fine. Can cut that shit.
All right.
So you were saying you were kind of like a coach.
Yeah, like a coach. I mean, I had the ability to kind of do my thing, but I wanted to add something to that group. I had seen them, I liked what they were doing, and I was like, yo, let me be a part of this, let's make something work. And so from that point, I watched how a person is supposed to organize a collective, and that was Last Word. Last Word taught me that when it came to rehearsal, it was his group. It wasn't us as three individuals. He knew automatically how to take egos and wrap that shit in a bundle and say, when we meet, here's how we're doing this. Here's the music, here's the song set. D, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. This is how it is. Let's go. And we ran hour after hour on rehearsal to where we could constantly. We were probably one of the loudest rap groups in the state.
Sure.
Like you see us live, you're like, yo, they're really dope. Don't stand in front though. Like, you know, because we were all just like, let's go.
Okay.
Dialogue Elevators. Exactly.
So what would you say was your most memorable show from these times?
Okay. The most memorable show, it's a kind of a cross. I had a good time with Dialogue Elevators for the limited run we had. We had like two good projects. That, you know what I'm saying, that we ran. With solo projects, Jeff dropped some stuff, Ernie dropped some stuff, and I think Last Word had a mixtape in the process. But we got a chance to play with Clyde Stubblefield live. Yeah. So the funky drummer, the original drummer of James Brown, for those that don't know history like that, that's the guy that's been the most sampled drummer ever in hip hop. I wrote an article on him. That's how important the cat was. But I have him on, guess what? VHS.
Okay. Yeah.
I have that performance where he had a residency in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And his lady would come out, and he was just the ultimate cool of cool. Like, this dude rocked with James Brown when James Brown was popping. And he was so chill. He drank his shit and he was kicked back. And then when he was on the drums, he had saw us play earlier that night, and he was like, hey, why don't y'all come on up? So he ran percussion on our freestyles, and we freestyled, and we did songs over that shit with the funky drummer behind us, fam. Yeah, so that
was that out there, or
was
what was that here?
That was in Wisconsin.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the venue?
I don't. I'll have to look at that tape. I mean, believe it or not, I still have a VHS player.
Yeah, man.
It's in storage.
We'll have to check that out, man.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So finally, has the name changed yet in this crew?
Yeah. At that point it did, because I went through a scene when I realized like X Games and all that shit. I was like, they're winning. I can't win.
Sure.
So I tried to switch it. I went to A Significant.
Okay.
I was like, I went to letter E, and then letter E stuck, because I was like, man, I'm still keeping something that's pertains to extreme.
Yeah.
So I went letter E, and E to 5'9" was at the very beginning. So people already knew me. That was kind of like a nickname. Like, oh, that's E. Yo, what up,
Sure.
E to 5'9"? What up, E? So it just was E. So I was like, letter E. Like, duh. It's me, you know? So, and then after a while, that felt like it was gonna be timely too, because I did a series of music with specific people, and they dropped the ball. That type of work ethic that gets a project 90% way completed, and then that 10% is almost like bleeding a turnip. You know what I'm saying? Where you're like, come on, man, we had a nice flow all the way up to this point. I have material that I've been performing, 2 prepping, 3 bragging about. Everyone's expecting this shit, and now you got cold feet.
Yeah.
Real talk.
So where does the name DisputeOne come from?
Right after the letter E failure. That was like right around 2001 to 2005. I was supposed to have that shit popping. And I was like, you know what? I need to change my name. So I went back to the mindset of what do names mean again, and what should they make as an artist. So I went, I hate all this shit. And I was like, Dispute. And I used to be the type of cat, when I brought my rhyme books with me, I also had a thesaurus. So my brain was like, I'm not gonna be rat, cat, hat, fat, sad. That shit to me was like, oh, you're gonna get dated fast. You need to find a word. Eardrum, tympanic membrane. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Put it in a rhyme. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, your rhyme takes a whole, it's like a splintered glass in winter. You dig me? Hit a pothole. Pow! All of a sudden, you thought it was going straight. Now it's up. It's going down. It's everywhere, and that's how I felt. So dispute was to bring forth, to challenge, and then I remembered the graffiti era where I attempted to do my little pieces.
Sure, yeah, man.
I went by ISM, ESM. Extremely serious music. I can still tag it. I'm doing an air tag right now.
Nice.
You know what I mean? It was what it was. So I went one. I was like the one to do it. So dispute. One, that's an ode to the graph era. That's an ode to hip hop's meaningful time, and to say, I'm gonna bring forth and challenge the status quo, and I'll be the one to do it.
Sure.
Not like on some I am number one, but nah. You know, it's like a Muslim name. You know what I'm saying? Like being the right hand man. You know, there are a lot of Arabic names that mean that type of importance that you can take from Allah, and it's like, whoa, you call yourself that? Like that's a powerful name. So I wanted people to see that. So DisputeOne, D1 for short. Sure. You know, that was it. Like,
dope.
Hit them in the face type shit.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to go into our last commercial break, and then we'll catch up with what DisputeOne is up to nowadays. So, Organized Grind, the podcast here with DisputeOne. Commercial break. Hey, what's up, world? This is Oracle Uno checking in to let you know that I just released a brand new EP entitled Speech Therapy. It's entirely self-produced. I made every single beat. I wrote every single lyric. I recorded it, mixed it, and mastered it. And you can now get it at oracleuno.com. That's ORIKALUNO.com. Thank you for listening. Anticipation, I ain't got the patience. I'm getting so close that I can taste it. On the chase, can't leave a moment wasted. Give it all I got just to make it. Anticipation, I ain't got the patience. I'm getting so close that I can taste it. On the chase, can't leave a moment wasted. Give it all I got just to make it. Shoveling more coals into the locomotion. Combustible, the engine running off explosion. Increase the potency, pouring my Puerto Rican potion. Keep the motion rolling. Organized Grind, the podcast here with DisputeOne. We're already at about 48 minutes in. Wanted to touch on a lot of things, and it's sounding like we're just gonna have to come back another day for a part 2 just to kick it, talk about some fun shit. But it was very important to me to share your history.
I appreciate that.
To all of the listeners. We have the people who listen are newer to the scene, and we also have some of the OGs and the vets who check it out too, who I'm sure are very excited to hear you talk right now too. So we're gonna keep it on music this time, but the next time we'll have some fun. We'll talk about some video games. We'll talk about Slumped. We'll talk about all of that good shit.
Slumped, yes.
But so Dialogue Elevators Crew,
right.
What was the transition out of that?
We actually, one second.
Yep.
We actually came to terms together after Elevator Music, which was really, really awesome. Adam Garcia made the artwork for
Snakebird, right?
Yes, Snakebird. Yeah, he made the. This was before he left Minnesota and became the wonderful entrepreneur that he is right now. I mean, it's a beautiful man. Shout out Snake. Yes, extremely talented brother, and I appreciate him for putting love in, and I appreciate the fact that everybody else gave him an opportunity to give us that look. He created like an elevator diagram, like a how-to. We look at a blueprint, as well as a SP 1200 type, not SP 1200, but it was 1200. Literally morphed them together to it looked like that was like one big blueprint, and it was like elevator music, and our music was perfect, and our t-shirts went perfect. He's the one that created that t-shirt I have that says Dialogue Elevators in the front, and going down the spine is each individual's little head. Nice. So like, I mean, our merch game was on back then. You know, so for me, we were ready to do the second album. The way it was done this time, I think there was the main engineer that we used at the time, and Last Word formed a production crew. I want to say they were called the Republicans, which was pretty fresh. Drew, Last Word, would go over there and he would record the music with my man, and they would get it all together. And this time around, Drew was like, I'm making all the music first. I'm putting it in the order it's going to sonically sound, and you guys are going to make songs accordingly. So we were on some next shit. Like for Cruise, nobody was putting talent and effort into their work like that. But we all came to the first group meeting, and it was interesting. We all kind of came in, and I felt we all knew that we were done. Okay. We weren't even going to get it going. We listened to the music. The music was so powerful that we were like, nah, I can't do it. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. Yeah. I think, honestly, I had enough movement. I needed to do shit on my own. Ernie and Last Word had connected, and we're doing beautiful work together on some solo shit for Ernie. Ernie was coming into himself, and Jeff was just being Jeff. Jeff was kind of stubborn, I'll be honest. He was a little stubborn. He didn't like to hear constructive criticism. I think he just felt people always were on his ass about shit. Sure. But my mind is like, you chose this. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm not going to be mad if you're a meta-human and all of a sudden a fucking apocalypse comes. You better use your superpowers. Don't sit your ass at the house and go, well, I don't fly, so I guess I can't stop it. But you can do something else. Like, you're better than anyone else right now. People call you an MC. And that was me. When I started recognizing that I was viewing people and going, they don't respect what identity they have, it was time to go. And we all said that. We were like, hey, I don't want to do this. And everyone was like, hands that don't want to do it. All our hands went up, and it was like, all right. So Last Word divvied out the music. Ernie got a couple tracks. I think I get a guest appearance on one of Ernie's with one of our dialogue joints. I think Jeff got some, and it was just what it was. I mean, it got divvied out. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you were just kind of doing things on your own from there. So So from the transition out of dialogue to now, why don't you go ahead and try to explain that timeline?
That was like trying to catch up. I felt like the shit that I lost when I was letter E, that I couldn't get off, that I ended up doing quite well with, the overseas music. Like we did really well. We charted. They rocked. Our music was on vinyl. It was 2 vinyl CD, and I got some sent to me, so I have mine that are on the wall, and I can be like, look at that, never opened. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, and it was a relationship that spawned like almost 2 decades worth with producers that I still work with to this day. Some of the music that's on, like we say, since we're talking about upcoming stuff, I've got producers on this new project that I'm working on, and that's what I've been trying to do, is catch up where I left off. So this album is called Dedicated, and I've been talking about this probably for the last like 9-10 years, like intimately, to people like you and others who know me, who know my artistry, who know what I'm about. And it's like, okay, but I've been doing music, picking some out of that, do more music, pick some out of that. Just never be settled with one particular thing, because if you make better shit, it's clearly you can make better music than what you've been sitting on. So it's got to stand the test of time. So I was always raising a bar for myself. And the funny thing is shout out to Inkproof, because I'm gonna give him credit for this. He wrote a post the other day that he's giving a spoiler alert about a canvas, I think, that he's gonna work on.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he triggered me on that too. Yesterday was just all about triggers.
Just triggered.
I was just like, God. You know what I mean? But when I saw that, he talked about how not being on anyone else's timeline, being on his timeline, how he's the most crucial, even on himself, like, this should be out by now. And I've been saying that shit to myself for the last 9-10 years about this album. And this album is literally over 2 decades worth of time between the time I dropped Iamus, which was just me, to this album, which is just me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And here I've been on everybody else's shit. I've been a part of everyone's history, a part of their culture. I basically have given DNA. I've dropped DNA off here, dropped DNA off there. So that's why this album has been painstakingly slow. I know for you, because you clowned me the other night.
Hey, yo, so as the dude who's recording it, it's kind of my job to just check in on the project, because I wouldn't be a producer if I didn't do that.
Which
so
I respect. So.
I try to encourage you to come in as much as you can, and that's as far as I leave it. If you say no,
respect.
then all right, cool. I'll check in another month from now and
But
just,
it's
man.
There. It's there now, because literally I have, at this current stage of it, I have 16 bars to write, and that's the final song on the LP.
Yeah.
And I kind of, spoiler alert, you with the nice little thing I showed you a picture a long time ago about the actual breakdown. The album's broke down.
That's right.
It's literally just dropping this last verse. And when I drop this last verse, it's domino effect. At that point, we'll be able to spew a lot of this out, and it'll answer.
Is it safe to say that we could possibly see this coming out in 2019?
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the hardest work has been done and the most hurdles have been jumped over. I had a lot of relatives pass away last year.
Sure.
Just being an adult, where I never chased tours and things of that nature. I mean, I commend cats like Slug, who would be like, I'll just get another job when I come back. Like, I didn't feel I had that in me. I was more nervous about the end result than I was just chasing that goal. So for me now, I'm like, okay, I understand adulting, and I know what's necessary for this craft. I know what's necessary for me and all the other side things I do with the podcasts and you know, all the other crap I do. So it's like I balance as much as I can.
Sure.
You know?
And so that's music, and you just touched on the next topic that I wanted to go into. Besides music, you are also a radio co-host.
Yeah.
iNoslen show.
Yeah, currently.
And he's based in Florida, right?
Yeah, Tampa.
Go ahead and speak on that and what y'all are working on.
All right. It's iNoslen Media is a company that's ran by Noslen Marjon, and Nas, N-O-S, is what he goes by on the air. He and we run what's called the Sunday edition of a radio podcast at one point that used to be called iNoslen Radio.
Sure.
Now, the cool thing about that, when I say used to be, is because he and I have worked it over the last 5 years, and we've built up the brand, and we've made enough connections to where we've got some interesting news this coming Sunday that we're going to announce the change. And I was given permission because I am the program director, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't leak anything out that Noslen had that he wanted to spoil to me, because he's actually going to surprise me. So I'm kind of excited.
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah.
It's like I'm talking about Christmas presents right now.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I can't wait till Sunday to open this. You feel me?
Right.
So I'm looking at it like, okay, the new podcast name is called The Core Culture Podcast.
Okay.
And we are more likely focusing deeper on the culture and the core of hip hop music and the life and the elements and the way things are, because we do that majorly on iNoslen Radio. We've done that for the last 5 years, literally, you know, as the Sunday edition.
Right.
We've had Vibe Essential, which was more of a contemporary laid back, and that had market specialists on there that told you how to do things. We've been trying to feed people via the internet. Here's a how-to your career and what you can do and what you can't do. And then we cover news, we cover local things, and it's an internet. So we were always like, hey, man, hit us up on Twitter. Tell us about your event. I'll talk about it. I'm not in it for me. This is my voice is supposed to move shit for you.
Right.
I'm supposed to vibrate other areas. So that's what we do with that podcast. So hopefully after Sunday, I'll be able to get fully in depth the next time we talk. You'll probably be on the show because you've been a host. You've been hosted rather in the past.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Any chance you get a project coming out, I make sure you're out. I mean, it's a village. We feed each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And shout out to anyone that's been on any of the social media platforms recently and saw the new picture for the podcast change and the identity move we're doing, because we've teamed up with some major players, man. It's kind of nice. I'm pretty impressed because this ain't the era of play your demo in front of somebody and get a deal. This is like, you really gotta hit the ground running. You know what I mean? And you gotta know what the hell you're doing, and your moves, you need to be calculated. This is chess, not checkers, and integrity over everything, because people don't work with just knuckleheads these days. They'll pimp you out if you're a knucklehead. I mean, you look at your 6ix9ines and, you know what I mean, all these off the wall characters that live these weird lifestyles, and then they go to prison, and that you're just getting pimped out. You know what I mean? But if you're a collective artist, you actually take your time with what you're trying to do. You actually say, here are the elements that I need, and this is the mode, and that's that podcast. So hopefully, in my opinion, I think he elevated that.
Okay.
The picture looks great. So I think after Sunday, we're gonna do some big things.
Sure. So the time of this podcast, when it comes out, it will probably be on the 3rd of April 2019. As of that time, is there anywhere online still that people can find what you guys have worked on?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it should still be at the iNoslen Media, iNoslen media.com.
Okay.
That's the parent company.
Sure.
The iNoslen Radio was more of a radio show that was a podcast transition. So we were a live show every first and third Sunday, which I think we're going to still keep the same itinerary each month, every first and third Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
But it'll be just the core culture podcast.
Sure.
And it's going to probably stay the same way, where we pretty much record live, and then it gets archived, and then you get put out, and then you can always come back, because we go over the analytics after every show, and I'm always like, okay, good, such and such episode is getting listened to. If they weren't live, I'll have X amount of people live. So to me, it's pretty fresh to see, because it's like 700 plus people we get to listen to us like every first and third Sunday, like all around the world, man. And you know what I mean? And it's dope. We're a morning show to Japan, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So
dope, man. Well, hey, if anyone out there is checking this out, please check out iNoslenmedia.com to hear what they have been working on, and I'm sure that you'll be hearing more from these guys soon. You know, it's we are at an hour, so I am actually gonna play a song from SpyMC called Hercules. Now, this makes me remember, I almost forgot to touch on these guys, the DRS Crew.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about them, and then we'll go into the track that I got from SpyMC down in Texas.
All right. A lot of my brothers from another mother, they live out in San Antonio. Some have relocated to the West Coast. There were a bunch of guys. Spy and his brother Djo came up and were all about the hip hop scene. When I plugged with DRS, that was another one of those free agency moves where I felt like, yo, they're the next best thing since Interlock, and Interlock was still doing their thing, but they were kind of like monopolizing themselves into a handful of projects and people. But DRS was like wide open. DRS was like, have Mike will travel, you know, and I wanted grassroots again, you know what I mean? And I was like, let's go. So I jumped in with those guys and instantly became brothers with them. And it was just, we did a whole project, and I was able to hook up with artists that I would have never hooked up with. I've got music on my Reverb Nation page from some older music from the DRS days. I mean, it's Southside Memoirs. That's such a beautiful song from that era. It's the only song that I even promote from that era, because it's something that came out of that, you know what I mean? So they were just another transition, but it was another piece of DNA that I take on, and then it birthed Spy, you know what I mean? He came up here and did his thing, and Spy and I also used to run a rap battle league together called the Loudmouth League.
How could I forget about the Loudmouth
11
League,
months,
man.
we went hard. 11 months because we were sister partnered with the Grind Time Now folks, because Mad Ills was dealing with a lot of the other individuals that were trying to work on ownership for that. And so we didn't want rappers to just sit like, you know, stallions that can't race. It's like, nah, man, we can do something here. So we created the Loudmouth League, and we did YouTubes. I have the whole first season archived. It was fresh, multiple camera views.
It's still up there,
we
too.
Were one
it's
of the
online.
first, you know, we were one of the first in this state to really, really run shit like we were supposed to. Cage matches. We had Octagon. We did a lot of dope shit.
Tight.
And I was the marketing director to help them with that too at the time. So that built a resume for me outside of hip hop, because I was always like, how can I keep something repping? Because I'm not trying to be a battle rapper anymore. That's not my thing. You know, I'm a lyricist. That's not my thing. But I want to make sure that these battle rappers get off, that they can do their thing and get their records up and get accolades from other states and be like, yeah, come on down. And that's what a lot of rappers do. Shout out to PT, one of Southside's own.
Right,
you know what I'm
PT.
saying? See what I'm saying? You've had him in the studio.
Yeah,
so,
man.
You know, cats like that, those are like my little brothers. So, I mean, I've always kept my hands free. So DRS was an extension, and it kept a lot of things going. So DRS is intricate, and they're vital to hip-hop history here. If they're not written in books, I'll be the first one to tell you that they should be. There's a story that they give and that they live, and you don't have a lot of Twin Cities hip-hop if you don't have the DRS Crew and what we did at Dinky Towner. You don't.
Right. I would definitely give them credit too for uplifting Sean Anonymous.
Indeed.
Well.
Indeed. We're just gonna keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? So I love everybody, but I give everybody their placement in time where it's deserved. So DRS is always gonna be dear and true, you know what I'm saying, to me, because like I said, they gave no fuck when no fuck was needed, and it was beautiful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was hip hop. So.
Word up. Well, yeah, man. I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about, and we are definitely planning on coming back for a repeat guest appearance from D. I'm sure that you're gonna be a friend of the show. I'm sure you're gonna be around.
Excellent.
For more chatting and talking it up, and then after my month of sobriety here, I'm definitely excited to just kick back and have a drink, and we can just chop it up naturally. But I really wanted to show the listeners here who you are, why you're so important to our scene, and why they should just check you out. So this is DisputeOne on the Organized Grind podcast. I am Oracle Uno. We are going to go ahead and end this show with a track called Hercules from SpyMC down in Texas. He is releasing, I think, 20 songs in 30 days or something like that. So find him. His name is Jose Perez on Facebook, but just look up SpyMC. And this is his track called Hercules. I'm Oracle Uno. If you want to go ahead and say peace yourself, D1.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Peace to anyone and everyone in the Twin Cities hip-hop scene and worldwide. Shout out to all Zulu Union members. I am an official member of the Twin Cities Omega Zulus. We rep love, peace, integrity, and work as well. Not necessarily in that order, but we all maintain a positive vibe, and we want to make sure that everybody understands that in this current day and time of any kind of insensitivity, any kind of racism, any kind of injustice, if you need an ear, if you need a shoulder, if you need a hug, we are those type of individuals that'll kick a little bit of love to you and kick you back knowledge in something that's workable. Not just going to tell you it's the government, it's this. No, let's find actionable means to how we feel, and let's give some mental health back, you know. So that's the shout out I want to give.
Word up. So yeah, thanks for listening to the Organized Grind podcast. SpyMC Hercules. I'm Oracle Uno. Peace and love.
Being used, old dudes, never gassed up, no fuel, walk around confused, change my perception, different view, I ain't worried about you, got shit I gotta do to keep it true, I don't even know where the fuck I'm going, do what I do, no thoughts of slowing, down like dissension, always gotta question those testing, I can see the tension, I don't need a mention, focus on the message that I'm sending, gotta keep winning, time is always ticking, but I'm not constricted by the hours and the minutes, in the second I can record, DJ play the fucking record, I'ma have to go all out, living without a doubt, fuck it, clout, knock it out. I took a different route, created my own path, talking while I'm walking around, thinking how you like me now. How the fuck you like me now? Doing what I want, doing what I need. You do what you have to, I do what I please. Got used to the struggle, now I'm doing it with ease. Making power moves, feel like Hercules. Do away with stress, smoking on some trees. Be careful how you step, you don't want no smoke from me. Most my life I tried thinking I'll never be. Whenever I die, will you remember me? Hey. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I really don't. How can I be found without losing myself more? I'm losing it. Getting back up if I fall down to the floor. door. Falling down, but what if I get shot on my way to the store? Any day I can die, every day can be my very last. Reflect on my life, I see through it like transparent glass. Everything I've done, both right and wrong. Hopefully I get to right my wrongs before I get done writing this song. June 7, 1986, a titan was born. Never conformed to society's norm. Outcasted like I was deformed. Now an oddity on center stage, I gotta perform until the audience roar. The godliest chore, the heavens will sing from the melodies I bring. Yeah, I got a good lord. My destiny is map, of course I gotta explore. You don't even know the half, but y'all can ask me on tour. Doing what I want, doing what I need. You do what you have to, I do what I please. Got used to the struggle, now I'm doing it with ease. Making power moves, feel like Hercules. Do away with stress, smoking on some trees. Pick up a higher step, you don't want no smoke from me. Most my life I try thinking I'll never be. Whenever I die, will you remember me? Doing what I want, doing what I need. You do what you have to, I do what I please. Got used to the struggle, now I'm doing it with ease. Making power moves, feel like Hercules. Do away with stress, smoking on some trees. Pick up a higher step, you don't want no smoke from me. Most my life I try thinking I'll never be. Whenever I die, will you remember me? Hey.